Well, let's talk about the April auto sales, which were a mixed bag. For the month of April, the two-wheeler sales were very strong. Tractor sales continue to be under pressure. Commercial vehicle sales have seen a bit of a recovery. And in the passenger vehicle sales, it is still moderate growth that we're seeing, especially for some of the larger players like Maruti. Sales growth has been in low single digits. But let's find out what's happening with some of the unlisted players now. Tarun Garg, the CEO of Hyundai Motor India, is joining in. We also have Hemal Thakkar, the director at CRISIL, who tracks the space closely. So, gentlemen, morning to both of you. Tarun, thanks for joining in. This space has overall seen a bit of a moderation in growth, largely because the affordable segment is struggling in the passenger vehicle space, although SUVs are doing phenomenally well. But where are we at currently in the cycle, and what do you see the next couple of months as the big trend?
Thank you, Sonia. Actually, frankly speaking, last 2 years have been so great for the industry. We had a 8% growth last year, and we had a 20% growth before that. So we have had the highest ever, auto industry. So obviously, the base effect is catching up. If you remember, in January end, we had a SIAM conclave where all of us put our minds together and try to forecast what kind of growth we can see in 24-25. And we came up with a number which was a low single digit, probably 2 to 3%. And if you see the April number, which is the first month of the financial year, the industry has actually grown by less than 2%. So I think the data, as we all know, reveals as well as hides. So some people would say that the growth has moderated, so it's a cause of worry. But frankly speaking, you have to see the base effect. Number one. Number two, even if you see a 5-year or a 10-year CAGR, we have seen about 4.5 to 5% growth, on a CAGR basis. So I think low single digit is not bad. But yes, because we have been used to this high growth, so maybe we feel that a moderation is setting in. But we have to also look at the fact that the pent-up demand is basically now gone from the system. Because now the semiconductor supplies are normal, the production is in full swing. So obviously, those luxuries of pent-up demand is no more there. So you have to mine every month and sell every month.
So the big trend in the auto space, in the passenger vehicle space, is the growth in SUVs, right? And we've seen some of these listed players like M&M do exceptionally well. Tarun, your own contribution is increasing for Hyundai as well in the industry in terms of the SUV contribution. Do you think the growth has reached a peak, or do you think there's more to go on the upside? And what kind of sustainable growth do you see in SUVs now?
Yeah, so if you see, in fact, we have been maintaining this right from the last 5-6 years that SUVs are the flavor, and they are going to be the flavor. If you see Hyundai, calendar year 22, we had, calendar year 23, in fact, we had reached 60% SUV penetration. We had given a guidance that calendar year 24 will be at 65%. I'm happy to report that January to April, we are at 66% SUVs as far as Hyundai is concerned. So we moved from 53 to 60 to now about 65, 66. Even the industry, if you see, has moved to 52 from 48. So I think SUVs are continuously going to grow. And I, for one, don't buy this argument that just because the smaller cars or entry level is not growing, that is having an effect on the overall industry growth. I think the industry growth has been phenomenal, and people are directly moving to SUVs, which is very, very clearly seen that the first timers in SUVs is going up. We have seen this across our venue. And now that Exter has come in, so many first timers are coming in. Going forward, I think there is still more upside. I feel that as against our 60% last year, we'll end this year with 66, 67, and maybe industry could also end up with 53, 54. And that has also to do with so many new models coming in. So I think there is still some upside left as far as SUV contribution is concerned. That said, we have to accept that even if hatches are 25, 26% of the overall market, still we are talking about 1 million volume. So we cannot ignore hatches,
Okay. Hemal Thakkar is also joining in. He's a director at CRISIL. He tracks this sector as well. Hemal, thanks for joining in. Your understanding of the big trends that we've seen in the month of April. We've seen tractors under a lot of pressure. Two-wheelers have done great. Commercial vehicles are coming back. But your thoughts on what the next couple of months could look like?
Thank you for having me. Absolutely right. On passenger vehicles, I completely echo what Tarun is saying. It's been a high base effect, and also the inventory position is very tight. We are still at about 40 days of inventory. That will limit or cap our growth going forward. Completely in sync that we'll see a lower single-digit growth for passenger vehicle industry for the year. So the coming months are not going to be very easy. Moving to tractors, we've seen a very good run in tractors over the last couple of years. We expect this year to see some kind of moderation in growth, considering normal rainfalls to about 3 to 4%. Reservoir levels have also been under some kind of pressure, so rains is going to be a key decider, with respect to tractor sales. Moving to two-wheelers, if you actually see two-wheelers have had a phenomenal run. A couple of reasons. One is low base. Second, one of the largest manufacturers last year had some production issues, especially in the first quarter, and that base has also kicked in. Second, a phenomenal festive season, Chaitra, Navratra, marriage season, etc., has seen very, very good sales, because of which we've seen a very, very strong growth in terms of two-wheelers, not only in terms of wholesale, but also in terms of retail. And stock levels are very, very sound. So from that perspective, two-wheelers could grow at a near double-digit growth for the year. When we then look at commercial vehicles, for that matter, commercial vehicles is a little bit of concern, if you ask me, with some kind of slowdown that we are seeing in terms of construction activities, and hence, kind of some catching up, in terms of heavy commercial vehicle sales. Light commercial vehicle sales have also seen some kind of tapering. What we need to be cognizant of is last year, April also had the effect of BS6 phase 2 coming in, because of which last year, April 23 was a little muted. So low base is something which has helped the CV industry grow. But if you speak to financiers, you will be aware that, they are a little conscious when it comes to funding to commercial vehicles now, as compared to what it was maybe a couple of months ago. So commercial vehicles is going to see some kind of pressure, and we expect the industry to end, on a marginally negative note in the coming year, as compared to, what we have seen in the first month as a start, which is a positive start.
Okay, got that. So that's an overall view on the sector. But Tarun, I wanted your thoughts on the electric vehicle space. Because, so far the EV growth was good, but last couple of months there's been a bit of slowdown. In fact, in the month of April, Tata Motors EV business saw a degrowth, a fall of almost 2%. I want to understand what's happening here. You guys also have, 5 new EV launches that you're planning by 2030. So what's the big trend in EVs now? Are we seeing a slowdown both globally as well as in India?
Look, I think we need to be a little bit more patient, So I think the direction is very clear. We all know that EVs are going to be the future. We have very strong plans as far as Hyundai is concerned. We have already announced a high volume EV in early 25, also 5 EVs by 2030, investing in localization of battery packs. Now Exide collaboration already has been announced in terms of cell manufacturing. So look, these kind of dips will happen, because what happens is whenever such a big transformation or a new technology is coming, the initial set of buyers are the ones who want to take an experiment, who want to be the role models. They are ready to kind of invest even if the ROI is not that good. And after that, the followers look for feedback, an immediate feedback. And then that is where sometimes, because the charging infrastructure is still in the nascent stage, we still have some way to go. So I think this is just a temporary phenomena, which is probably affecting that. That is point number one. I think point number two, which is probably more significant, is if you see the major players in India, the top, 3-4 players, they are still to come big time into EVs, because still, like if I talk about Hyundai, of course we have the Ioniq 5 and we had the Kona, but not in the high volume segment. Some of the other players still to go. So I feel 24 and probably 25, you will see little bit of a muting. But the moment you see more EVs coming from more very established players, I think a trigger will set in, and probably 26, 27, that trigger can happen, and so that we can reach probably around 20% EV penetration by 2030. But we need to be little bit patient. All of us are really working on the ecosystem, and the direction is right, but we should not jump to conclusions just because few months here and there we see some kind of a growth or degrowth. Yeah.
Okay, got that. Tarun, I can't let you go without asking you about the IPO, right? Everyone on the street is talking about it. So just in terms of a timeline, tell me, what are we looking at? Are there reports to be believed that in the month of May or June, we could be staring at a Hyundai India IPO?
Look, I don't want to disappoint you, but sorry, I have to. So no comments, no comments. We have already made a comment from our headquarters. I have nothing further to add on this.
You can at least tell me if it's happening in this calendar year or not, right?
Sorry, I cannot say anything, So no comments for now.
Okay, I'll wait to hear more from you, by the way. I won't leave this topic alone just because you have no comments. But I mean, there's so many rumors doing the rounds. And of course, once the IPO comes through, then it means a lot more opening up of the system for some of the other passenger vehicle makers as well. Well, Hemal, I wanted your thoughts on, the point that Tarun was making about EVs. He said you have to be patient, but, now we are seeing globally as well, right? Tesla scaled down its sales targets. Globally now, hybrids are being preferred as compared to pure play EVs because of A, EVs are so expensive, B, there is this charging infrastructure issue as well. Are you seeing that issue become a hindrance even in the Indian markets? And do you think the EV slowdown perhaps is here to stay for a while?
In the short term, yes, kind of as Tarun mentioned, long-term story is definitely electric vehicles. But what we are seeing is, we are seeing opening of supply. So when I say opening of supply means many new manufacturers coming up with EV launches. So you will have more choice for the customers across the spectrum, right from about 8 odd lakhs all the way to 30 lakhs. And with this new policy of the government of India, which is going to promote manufacturing of electric vehicles of a certain ticket size, wherein you can import at a lower customs duty, will also kind of open doors. So from that perspective, of course, in the near term, we may see some kind of pain because, we are seeing the overall industry itself register a lower growth. And with more options being available and, people developing more confidence on the product with more manufacturers coming in, I'm sure, you will see the industry grow. Our sense is that, by financial year 30, we should see almost 15 to 20% of sales coming from pure electric vehicles or pure BEVs. So maybe in the next 1 or 2 years, we will see a slow growth as compared to what we have seen in the last couple of years, where the industry has grown by anywhere in the range of 50 to 100%. So we may see the growth rate to taper down. However, we still feel, from a long-term perspective, this is the way to go. And of course, hybrids is something, which will catch up or which are catching up. What is going to be very critical is the price points at which hybrids are going to be available, the delta that you have to petrol price. If the delta comes down, or if we look at, the news that is going around in the market, wherein the government may reduce, kind of GST on hybrid vehicles, if that happens, then we may see hybrids taking a front seat going forward.
Okay. One final question on the rural penetration, because what I've noticed in the last couple of months is that the rural market is picking up X of tractors. So whether you look at Hero MotoCorp, right, it's seen a good growth, of course, on the back of a low base. A couple of other rural players are also looking good. Tarun, I wanted your thoughts. Is the gap between urban and rural now diminishing? And have you seen a sustainable recovery in the rural market?
I think this is so apt, and I'll give you some shocking numbers, everybody thought that rural was about small cars. Let me give you some data. January to April, my SUV contribution in rural is 67%. My national SUV contribution is 66%. Can you imagine this? This was unfathomable, some years back. I think rural customers are becoming more and more aspirational. The road infrastructure is so good, so they don't mind now buying the SUV. They want new cars. Earlier, they were thinking about, okay, let me buy a used car. Maybe, the roads will not be able to take it, or the service infrastructure was not there. But, this is amazing. Our penetration has gone up to 19.8% rural penetration, which used to be only about 16 and a half about 4 years back. And we are seeing increasing demand of the new age SUVs from the rural market. So I think rural is going to be very strong this year. Monsoon prediction is very good. And I have seen that whenever we feel that some kind of a saturation or a low growth is coming in the urban markets, rural always raises their hand up and performs. So we are seeing that. And I believe that rural will really positively surprise not only for Hyundai, but for the overall auto industry as well.
That's actually a very important point you make, that you're seeing a very large contribution of SUVs in the rural market now for you, as opposed to the, conservative thought that only affordable car segment is picks up in rural. Hemal, any thoughts on this?
Rural share is definitely increasing. We've seen some kind of pressure till financial year 22, I would say. Post that, we've seen recovery. One major reason is, the price hikes have become relatively muted. Your fuel prices have stabilized for that matter, and that is, something which is giving more confidence. Replacement demand also on the rural side has, started to pick up. And as you rightly mentioned, if you look at the first month itself, with festive season coming in, states like UP, Bihar, MP have outperformed, in showing more than 50 to 55% growth in terms of retail sales based on Vahan data, which also gives you a sense that rural story is coming back in a very, very strong way.
Okay, this was a really insightful chat. Tarun and Hemal, thank you so much for stopping by and talking to us. And Tarun, I'm going to get back to you on that IPO plan. So next time, I'm not going to let you get away.
Okay, thank you, Sonia. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarun. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you, Hemal, for joining us. Okay, well, that's the word on the auto sector and how it's been performing so far.